He's out on loan, so we'll have to recall him next episode. But for now, you've got us to do a clean sweep over game week. What was it, Scott?
11.
Jesus, 11. Game week 11. And also today we'll be discussing AFCON and our plans around that, how we plan to spend our 5 transfers and what the strategy behind it will be. So I look forward to going through that with you today, Scott. How are you feeling after this week?
It was a bit of a car crash week, wasn't it? 11. I've sort of put it to back of my mind, to be honest. It'd be interesting to see what comes out. Just to say on the host front, you're my favourite host.
I appreciate that.
So long may it begin. Carry on. So how's your week been? You had a great week 11, if I remember.
Yes, it feels like an eternity ago. Obviously, we're in the international break, which, again, for FPL managers is never a good thing because you're looking at you're waiting for the red flags to pop up, and a lot of tinkering can happen in between.
Do you think if you've had a strong week like you did going into the international break, it's harder than if you had a bad week like me and Darren did? It feels a bit of a actual break, and you can sort of reassess after a few days.
Yeah, I feel when you have a good week, you just want the next week to hurry up, and especially when I've seen a lot of people contemplating game week 12 wildcards, and a lot of the drafts that I'm seeing in the FPL community are quite similar to what I already have, which I think is, I don't know if that means I've done well in getting ahead ever so slightly of the curve or not. But I'm looking at my squad at the moment. Yeah, quietly happy. A few small things to tinker with, which we'll probably get to next week. But yeah, for now, settled.
Well, I guess you had a strong week, so I guess the consensus would be that you had players that scored highly. So if people are doing a wild card for this week, I guess it would make sense that they're sort of aligning their scores with yours now, which sort of does put you ahead of the curve slightly, which is a good place to be.
Well, it makes a change. I'll take that as a small win. All right. Well, I will share some slides. I'll try and make this as smooth as possible. So don't judge me on the old technology front. But yes, so speaking of game week 11, so I just pulled out what I felt were probably some of the five major talking points from the weekend. Obviously, Scott, I'm happy to go over whatever games you wish to discuss.
They were cool, yeah.
But obviously, the main game of the weekend was the Man City versus Liverpool. The title race is really hotting up. And as I've put there, Doku running the show. How did you see it?
Well, he had one of those performances, didn't he, that make you realise what a super talent he is. We mentioned sort of at the start of the season that Pep seemed to be playing him more central. And when he's in those central areas, he's devastating. And he just needs a bit more composure, I guess. And the figures will come. But he's so dangerous in those central zones, and he's scary enough if he's running at a fullback, let alone if he's running at a slow centre half, But yeah, the take on the game, we watched the game together, didn't we? We were watching this in a sports bar, and City were good for the win.
Yeah,
I think Liverpool were good in patches, but overall they still conceding way too many chances and look soft down the middle, and City were good for it despite the Haaland missed penalty, which for captainers was a bit of a kick, especially when he doubled up with Semenyo's missed penalty as well. You know, but I guess if you brought in Thiago, that we'll talk next, then the penalty king sort of set the record straight. I mean, what was your take on the City game? For me, City were good for the win. Liverpool poor.
Yeah, I think obviously there were some decisions in the game that I guess you could say went against Liverpool. Obviously, they had the disallowed goal.
What did you make of that? What was your take on that?
It's one of those where the problem is it's one of those where the officials seem to hide behind the rules, hide behind what it says in writing. Whereas for me, he isn't really interfering with Donnarumma at all.
Well, he sees the full flight of the ball, right? I think he sees it coming, and I think maybe he's slightly put off by Robinson being as close as he is.
Yeah, and there's plenty of examples over the last 6 to 12 months where there have been similar situations and the goal's been given.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand why Liverpool would feel aggrieved by that.
But the score's 1-0 at that point. So if the goal stands, it goes 1-1, and maybe we're looking at a different game.
Yeah, obviously you have that argument. I personally don't believe that the game would have ended any differently. I think, did Donnarumma really have a save to make in the second half? City were controlling it. And yeah, Doku, he's a bit of an enigma for me. Again, he's one of these that you watch him on the eye test. He's a beautiful footballer to watch. Very tricky, very quick. All the attributes you kind of look for in a winger. But his output, I think that was his first return.
First goal, yeah.
It's the beginning of 2025.
Yeah. He reminds me very much of Kudus. Great to watch, very, very dangerous looking, and you look at the stats and think surely not, because they're so bad, that they're so sort of poor. And I think you couple that with the lack of minutes or secured minutes at City, it makes him a very exciting punt if you want to go for a 1 week, 2 week punt on a player like him. But for a long term option, he's never in my thinking.
No, and that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty when picking, even the likes of Foden, who's started to pick up form. And obviously we spoke about Cherki last week as being a potential guy to look out for. But yeah, the Pep roulette is still difficult to call.
It's a real thing.
So,
yeah.
Which makes a lot of their players a bit of an avoid, to be honest.
Which is a shame, isn't it? Because they are in the top 3 best teams in the country. They score goals for fun. They're pretty solid at the back. To not have any options that you can really rely on, it seems a bit of a waste.
I guess the one guy that I like the look of personally that I'm considering for my team going forward is O'Reilly. I think he's got 3 returns from 4 starts.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, and he looks like he's got that left-sided left wing back role nailed down currently.
Well, when we come to our AFCON chat, maybe we'll introduce his name into the conversation, because I've got some things around him. Yeah.
All right, let's move nicely on to the main man Thiago and the old buzzing bees, as I've put there, because again they continue, I guess, to defy the early season predictions that they may struggle. They're putting results in, and he's definitely the man leading the way there.
Yeah, it's all home form for Brentford. It's all home form. They've made the G-Tech very tough. Their away form is very sort of the opposite. So if you're looking at Brentford, I guess when they play at home, he's a great option. And I guess being at the price he is for those away fixtures, you maybe stick him on the bench, and it doesn't matter because he's not that much. I think what is he 6'3" now?
Yeah.
So he's still brilliant value.
Nicely priced.
Yeah. So if you can rotate him with a fourth defender or fifth mid for those away games, then maybe that's the play. But we both own him. I brought him in a few weeks ago. You brought him in last week. 13 points. What a boy.
Yeah. And again, with those strikers being quite difficult to pick form-wise, they seem to all be fairly indifferent outside of the goal machine in Haaland. So yeah, he's been a nice pickup, to be honest. And
most people have gone Haaland Mateta, haven't they? It was that third option. Do you go right down to a 4.3 bench rider? Danny Welbeck was in the shout as well as an option, or Thiago, and on last week's form, Thiago's the guy to go with.
Yeah, and I guess that rolls into the Red Devil talk, because obviously, if you want to save that bench rider, then I guess the main option for Man United right now seems to be Bryan Mbeumo. He's the guy that all the chances are falling to currently, and they seem to be finding some form.
Mm-hmm.
4 games, without defeat now. With some nice fixtures on the horizon, it definitely looks like some Man United players could be worthwhile picking up.
Well, Mbeumo is definitely the goal threat, isn't he? He seems to be the guy that the play seems to be set up for him to have the chances. Cunha seems to be the ball carrier. He's the link between sort of defence, midfield, and that. Same as Bruno. And obviously Sesko was benched in this game and then came on and then went off with what seemed like a bit of not a serious injury, but one that might keep him out for a couple of weeks. Mbeumo has gone up in price. He's like 8.5. Him and Bruno, the gap's coming down week on week. I think there's only 0.4 between them now. Great option. Obviously, you got to bear in mind, as we'll discuss in the AFCON chat, is that he will go to AFCON with Cameroon. But for the sort of 4 or 5 games in between, and I've actually heard rumours too that United have asked Cameroon if he can actually stay with them for that game just before, because I think Cameroon don't play till sort of almost the end of the first week of the AFCON tournament.
I've heard similar stories across the board. People trying to keep their AFCON players for a couple of weeks before the actual tournament starts.
Yeah, which I think means that he might play 7 games between now and then, if they agree to it. So still a worthy pickup, I think, even 8.5, because United do have some good fixtures, and like you said, they are sort of hitting a bit of form, turned a bit of a corner, although they've still been a bit indifferent. They're still a bit leaky at the back. They're giving up chances, but I think they're always going to do that with the personnel they've got. But it makes them quite an exciting team to watch. Although the game itself, the United Spurs game, was pretty poor. It was like 2 top table sides that aren't very good. Nullifying each other.
2 teams finding their feet, wasn't it? Really.
It was a bit confusing. I mean, Spurs had a lot of the ball, but got nowhere with it. United looked dangerous, but not overly dangerous. It was a bit of a sort of like a weird 2-2. I couldn't quite put my finger on what I was watching.
Yeah, I would imagine if you were a Spurs fan going into that added time and you were 2-1 up, you'd be thinking, how the hell are we 2-1 up? But also brilliant.
Exactly.
Man United probably was similar. How the hell are we 2-1 down?
Yeah.
And then obviously the elation of 10 men grabbing a last-minute equaliser. The other player that I like from there, and mainly because he probably falls into more close to where my budget is playing for that my probably 5th choice midfielder, is probably Amad Diallo.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another player that's bound for AFCON.
Yeah.
But again, for his price and his form currently, he's obviously got that spot pretty nailed down at the moment as that right wing back role that they play currently. I just like him as he's consistent. He's not going to ever rip up trees, obviously, with his price point, but again, probably adds a little bit more than some of those five 5.1 million midfielders.
Yeah, if your budget doesn't stretch to an 8 million Cunha or Mbermo or Bruno, I guess Ahmad is the next choice, and probably is better value than Cunha even at his price point.
So yeah, he's certainly someone I am looking at as well. Next, again, a difficult team from an FPL point of view to pick assets from, but Villa, again, very impressive 4-0 win over a very good Bournemouth side, and Buendia seems to defy all odds. No matter how many minutes he plays, he creates something.
Well, then there's your option, right? There's your Villa asset if that's the case.
Yeah, the only problem is he isn't guaranteed minutes. Like
no.
he seems to float in and out of that starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
Emi Martinez is their highest point scorer this season. And then so then you look at probably the most highly selected players from their team is Rodgers and Watkins, and currently not really getting involved with regards from an FPL point scoring point of view.
Watkins is probably in 60% of those dead teams still from week one.
Yeah, God, it feels like a long time ago that we were talking about Watkins, wasn't it?
I gave him 6 weeks and I binned him off. He's done nothing since. It's a PTSD, isn't it?
Jesus, I might need to lie down.
on Villa, I mean, I've been looking at. I'm bench boosting in game week 12, and I've got 2 free transfers, and I've been looking at Villa because they got Leeds in game week 12 at home, and I'm thinking because they're in great form. I know none of their assets are returning on a regular basis, but Morgan Rogers seems to nail down that number 10 role for England. Had another good game last night, and I'm thinking he's too good to not return. So he's on my mind to bring in this week. He's dropped to 6.8 mil as well, so a nice price. Very tempted in a Villa side that seemed to have just taken off recently after their awful start to the season. For whatever reason, they seem to have got back to the Villa of last season.
Yeah, well, we did say it would happen eventually.
Yeah,
but again, their fixtures, as you just mentioned, start to turn nice now. So that's another reason why I've included some of these teams, because they are worth looking at for the up and coming few weeks of fixtures.
But from a Bournemouth point of view, I've got double Bournemouth defence with Petrovic and Senesi, and all of a sudden they've hit the opposite issue, leaking goals left, right, and centre away from home. Again, they're a very home imbalanced side. I think they've only conceded 2 at home and 16 away. Because they play that suicidal high line, don't they? And teams are getting right in behind them quite easily.
Yeah, they are. Again, it's a tough one to call because you pick a lot of their players around, I guess, again, especially for me anyway, I pick players generally based on what I consider value for money.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm looking at Semenyo now and going, I'm not quite getting that value for money that you are now costing me. Obviously, I've had him pretty much from the beginning, so I've earned quite a lot from all these. I think 11 price hikes that he's had.
Yeah.
So I would make a little bit of profit from him if I was to sell him. But again, I'm hoping, because I think that's 3 blanks in a row now that he's had, and again, I don't think his numbers are looking as impressive on paper as they were previously. So,
well, he was always overperforming his numbers, and I think we're just seeing a regression to the average now for him. But he's also a guy that's so explosive that any given game he can just turn up and grab a brace, and it's usually going to be the week that, I mean, I explained last week my love-hate relationship with Semenyo. As soon as I bench him, drop him, he'll go on a run, and I hate him forever. But Bournemouth got a great run of fixtures starting next week with that home fixture to West Ham, which looks very nice. despite West Ham having a bit of an uptick in form recently.
Yeah, again, that's probably another reason why I will probably hold him again with a review of the fixtures. We'll see. We'll see. And then lastly, obviously, Sunderland, Arsenal, obviously, they come and wipe out that 8-game clean sheet run, and they're a full value for it. Again, they're much better side in the first half, fully deserved to take the lead and be in the lead at half time. I thought Arsenal were very much improved in the second half. And again, I thought Arsenal were good value to put themselves in the lead. We penned them back and put them under pressure and stop them doing the good things they were doing in the first half. But yeah, they didn't give up. They didn't give up, and they kept using their assets, using their their long throws and their set pieces to kind of try and rough us up. And
well, they are physical, aren't they? Physical, direct,
and it was very successful. It did definitely put Arsenal out their stride.
Yeah,
and again, I think deservedly. Although I begrudgingly say it, deservedly probably got a point in the end.
Well, we spoke about it at the sports bar, didn't we? That the first half reminded me of Arsenal of old, where teams would turn up and know that if they were physical against Arsenal, they stood a chance because that they would sort of not be able to stand the physicality, and it reminded me a bit of that first half. And then the second half, Arsenal come out and prove and show what they're all about these days, and turned it around in a heartbeat, and looked, all in the winning. The team that are going to go on to win the game, and prove that they are no soft touch anymore. They can mix it with the physicality and their class of individuals just shines through. But I was happy for Sunderland. I mean, I've got triple Arsenal defence. So obviously, I was bittersweet because I think Sunderland were fantastic in that first half and thoroughly deserved to get something out of it. So I'll take the single pointers from Timber and well, let's hope. It was a gutter when Dan Ballard finished that chance. To say that I slumped in the sofa and didn't speak for about 5 minutes was an understatement. I was proper gutted. But I guess when you pick triple defense from any team to watch them concede, you know the risk. It's a risk and reward strategy. So, but on the game itself, I thought Sunderland were good value. And Arsenal proved that they're worthy title contenders as well.
Agreed. Were there any other games you wanted to quickly pass over before we go on to our weekly scores?
No, not really. There's nothing really that stood out. I think we covered the main points of last week. I mean, it was 5 days ago now. Probably a bit of a fading memory for people. And no, I think we covered the main points. Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah, I don't want to give Joao Pedro any more of my time.
Not at all. I don't want to go on about Ismail Assar missing chance after chance after chance. So.
Okay, let's move on nicely to our scores. Again, feels like a distant memory, but
my days! Look at that. I've forgotten about that.
Let's go through them. So, Scott, you scored 40 points this week. Total of 676, and your rank is 378k. Myself 60 points. I've moved up to 628 in total, and I moved up a nice rank increase to 2 mil. So
what was that rank rise? Because 60 points I think put you like 20,000 for the game week.
Yeah, I moved up 1 million places.
Wow.
I think I was just under 3 million.
Brilliant. It just shows you what 1 week can do, can't it?
It definitely does. And then, Darren, again, had a tough week. 32 points, 560 points in total, and 5.6 mil rank. It definitely... again, I guess I'll just quickly talk over mine. So the key here was obviously going against Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
For the week, which obviously paid off.
You nailed that call, yeah.
With Saka getting his goal and even managing to get DEFCON points and obviously bonus points for his performance. So again, yeah, very happy. And obviously, as we've mentioned, Thiago coming good. So yeah, less said about defence, the better, I guess, this week. And yeah, still struggling to get that midfield pattern right, which I think most FPL players are. So I'm not taking that to heart. So I'll move on. What about your week, Scott? How would you?
Well, we got the same
bad in defence.
the same front three. You look at Darren's team; he went Welbeck and not Thiago, so he missed out on the points there. My midfield, I've got Mbeumo, but I went him over Saka really because the value. Obviously, Mbeumo did return, but Saka obviously had a great week. And Sarr continues to frustrate, gets in wonderful positions, and just, I don't know, he seems like he couldn't hit a barn door these days. But I guess Palace got some nice fixtures, so he's going nowhere. And then also, like I mentioned, the risk of playing the three Arsenal lads at the back didn't pay off this week. But I'm going to stick with it. Spurs coming up, game week 12. Haven't been overly impressed with Tottenham from an attacking point of view. I think Arsenal stand a good chance of keeping a clean sheet. So yeah, I mean, frustrating, but I'm still happy with my rank overall and where the team sits.
Agreed. With regards to Darren's team, again, he's sticking with Van der Ven after his.
He loves that double Spurs defense, doesn't he?
After his goal exploits. I think if I was him going forward, I'd definitely probably be looking at Grealish, whether he can improve on him.
Not returning, is he?
I can't really say anything against Bruno G. I think Darren's proved that he's got something in his locker, and he made the right decision in bringing him in to an extent.
What about the Eze picks? I mean, Eze is getting starts, but not seeing out games and not really looking like value for money.
From an FPL sense, yeah, for sure. I think he could possibly look to spend it elsewhere, especially obviously with Arsenal's fixtures getting a little bit tougher on paper in the coming weeks. So yeah, that may be somewhere where he looks.
What's Odegaard's prognosis? Is he back soon?
I've heard lots of good whispers regarding most of them being close to fitness for Spurs. It definitely looks like Havertz, Jesus, and Gyökeres will be available for Spurs. Odegaard, I'm not sure if they're a little bit further away, but again, not too far away now from what I understand.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get on to our main topic of discussion is AFCON. So again, I've just wanted to call out obviously when the fixtures are, when the dates start, and tie it into obviously FPL fixtures. And then again, I've just called out some notable players that will likely go to AFCON. So to be wary of if you have them in your team. Again, big thanks to FPL Focal for the graphics. He's done a good article on his website, so go check that out for sure.
Yeah,
it's worth a read. But yeah, so Scott, I will, let you take the floor a little bit here.
I guess you got to start with the transfers, don't we? That we're going to be given in game week 16. So we're entering game week 12 now. So you got 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 16 you get bumped up to 5. Not 5 added, but you'll get 5. So if you end up with 1 going into 16, you'll get 5. If you go with 4, they'll give you an extra 1 to bump you to 5. Just to clarify that again, because I know I've seen lots of people confused in social, think they're going to walk away with 8, 9, 10 transfers. Like another wild card. Yeah. So I mean, AFCON's a great tournament to start with. I mean, I love it when it comes around every other year. There's great footballers now. Africa produced some real talent. and some really strong teams on sort of the world stage now, like Senegal and Morocco and Egypt. Very strong internationally teams, obviously, likes of Mo and Njai and Boemo that we've discussed, and lots of talent across Africa. Now, my initial take on it is that I'm going to start removing my African players soon, because I want to go into game week 16 with 5 transfers to do something different with, as opposed to just removing my African players. That's my thinking, and sort of working backwards, like on a fixture run. Who's got the worst fixtures? Working backwards, and you work out which players you can remove at what time. Probably starting this week with Njai for me. I think Everton's fixtures for the next 3 are a bit tough, and Everton not really flowing, not really scoring, making chances. So I think he'll be the first casualty in my team. And also to point out that players like Semenyo, I know he's frustrating at the moment, but him and Kudus didn't qualify. So Ghana didn't qualify for AFCON, so they stay. And also Minte, who I completely overlooked for my wild card. I had him in. I was like, no, I can't have another African player in there. Completely forgetting that Gambia also didn't qualify. So he is a great pickup, because Brighton's fixtures do turn, and he's the 90-minute man in great form. And Beto as well. If you're looking for that budget third striker, he also won't be going because his nation, Guinea-Bissau, didn't qualify either.
Yeah, good call out there, Scott. Again, I've kind of looked at it from a slightly different perspective, which I think is, I guess, great conversation points between us both.
Well, it was interesting when we were firing back notes and we were both like talking at opposite ends of the scales.
Yeah, I've gone I guess, a little bit of the opposite way. Obviously, I don't expect anyone probably to have 5 African players to be able to have to get rid of in the first place, I guess. But for me, obviously, if you're on Brian and Mbeumo, Ismail Assar, all those types of players, I would want them in my squad to maximise output with the fixture swings in the coming weeks. So I guess I've kind of planned in my back of my mind. For my example, obviously I've got Sarr, that I will have Sarr, so I will use at least one of my transfers on Sarr. I'm trying to plan, who's that going to be for, and whether I save up transfers, for example, and move budget around, I guess is the plan here. So yes, it's an interesting perspective. Obviously, you're thinking get rid of them early, maximize those 5 transfers to make your squad as strong as it can be, I guess, going up until that game week 22-23. Whereas,
my thinking is that we get more wild cards, more chips from game week 20. I mean, are you really gonna want to use your chips that early on? Are you more likely to want your African players back, which is what I'm thinking? So I'm hoping to bank a few of those 5, because the likes of Sarr and Mbeumo, you want to get them back.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just, obviously it's very difficult, because we're talking about assets that are in teams that have got good fixtures coming up. Even Liverpool, their fixture swing now is really nice on paper. So Mo might be quite high up on a lot of people's shopping lists if they can afford him, of course.
Getting to him is quite a problem, isn't it?
It will be, but I think a lot of people will be looking at these players to maximise their point output up until that game week 16 deadline. So I guess it'd be great for us to talk over strategies and players to look out for through that. So then that just goes on. Obviously, I've just highlighted what Scott's just mentioned about the transfers. So it's 5 in total transfers that you're able to make from game week 16.
Yeah, the key word is topped. I think a lot of people miss that, where it says topped up.
Yeah. So I guess the advice there is to use all of your free transfers going into that game week 16. So you get given the maximum of transfers and then that way, like you say, you can maximize your team's output where possible. And then I've just put there the fixture ticker from game week 16 to 22. So obviously when the African Nations is on, and I've put the top 10 teams based on fixture difficulty. And then the other thing worth calling out is that Arsenal, Chelsea, and Leeds are completely unaffected by AFCON, so they have no players going to the African Nations. And it's just, I guess it's worth us discussing that some teams are probably more affected than others. And what I mean by that is, speaking of West Ham, for example, they are third here in the fixture ticker. They are losing both their first team wing backs to AFCON. So although on paper their fixtures look nice, are they going to be able to move their team around, losing those two first team players to maximise those games? So I guess that's just like one thing is worth considering when you've got AFCON players going and you're looking at the teams where they're leaving. Are the assets coming in good enough to maximise?
Does it weaken them overall? I mean, because Sunderland are losing 9
overall. I guess you're right. Yeah.
Sunderland losing 9 players. I mean, not all 9 are first team regulars, but probably 6 are. So Sunderland is going to AFCON massively weakened. Although they're 6th there, 7th on the list. Yeah. Again, like your point. I mean, do they losing those players weaken them? Yes, it does. So the Sunderland assets you've got, your Mukeleles and your Ballards, are they less options now because they'll be weaker around the pitch? I mean, there's a lot sort of weigh up and think about and analyze, I guess.
Yeah, and with every FPL decision, you can never be 100% accurate. So I guess just use your gut alongside the statistical output, because that's the best way forward. Even thanks to Man City, they're losing Marmoush, who's currently can't get in the starting lineup, and has not long come back from injury. And then obviously Ain't Nori, who is currently injured. So again, that probably doesn't affect them losing those players to AFCON as it would do. So it could be business as usual, I guess.
But then I'll use Palace as my example, because it losing Ismail Assar, who's our main sort of goal threat alongside Mateta, massively weakens our attack. So although we only lose one key player, alterations to that lineup will ultimately sort of weaken us as a side going forward. So I mean, lots to talk about, lots to get through. Let's crack on with some options, shall we?
Let's go for it. So, what myself and Scott have discussed is like-for-like picks. So, again, players that are leaving AFCON from certain teams, what options do we consider worthwhile options? And then alternates. So, players from teams that have, got good fixtures, worth looking at for players that are leaving to AFCON. So, again, I don't know whether you want to start, Scott, or...
Well, I mean, Mo Salah is probably the biggest high-profile player to leave the Premier League for the tournament. Although, as everyone knows, his output has not been as formidable as it has been over recent seasons. He's still a huge loss for the league. A player that Liverpool probably don't want to lose for that length of time, because Egypt one of the favourites to go far. I mean, he could miss 7 games. I mean, that's huge. And we've highlighted that Frimpong would be his replacement, because I'm pretty sure he was bought with this in mind. He can obviously play right wing back or right attack. He's done both in the past. It's an interesting one. I think Liverpool are a conundrum, and you could have, I mean, we could have put a few players in that role. If Frimpong doesn't retain his fitness, because he's been in and out through injury, you got players like Szoboszlai that can play out there. Does it mean Wirtz gets a regular start? Does it mean Ekitike players out there and Isak then becomes an option because he plays down the middle? I mean, losing Salah, I think, for Liverpool is going to be huge, and rotation to try and fit all these players in will be massive. So, I mean, I don't know what you think about Liverpool losing Salah for the tournament, and then the knock-on effect to the rest of the squad. I see it maybe as an opportunity for them to try something a bit new.
It might be a breath of fresh air, to be honest, because he's such a staple in that starting lineup, and because their form has been a little bit indifferent of late. It might be an opportunity, like you say, for them to refresh that attack and try new things. I think it is a good thing for the likes of Ekatike, the likes of Gakpo as well, who's been more of a rotation risk since Isak has come back to fitness. So yeah, I like the idea of Frimpong as a cheap option to get into that. Obviously, Liverpool, especially if he's playing more attacking.
Well, say he comes in like for like, so he's Salah's like for like replacement. Frimpong is listed as a defender, currently at 5.7 million. They'd be technically playing as a right sided attacker in probably the best attack in the country. So if he's fit and does play, he's an absolute no-brainer pick to get him in.
And again, you can't argue with those fixtures having Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley all at home in that run of fixtures. It's pretty eye-watering to think of the points returns you could get if you get the right Liverpool picks.
So what do you see Slot doing? Do you see him playing Frimpong, or do you see him going for a bit more tried and tested, maybe playing Szoboszlai out there?
I think it'd be kind of a wait and see of how much minutes Frimpong can get given, because I would like to think he would want to try and test it before Salah departs, to test the theory out. So I think it's definitely a worth a watch. He feels like the most obvious because he's quite like for like stylistically in what he wants to do, and that's get to the byline and stretch the defence. So we just haven't seen enough of it as of yet, I guess, to make me confident that he's going to be the guy. So I guess I would just advise that we take in as much information leading up to that game week 16 as we can. I think it would be a last minute game week 16 decision. I think it'd be difficult, to get ahead of what that's going to be.
And who do you think is on penalties in Salah's absence?
Good shout. I'm just trying to think who would take them historically.
Whole host. I mean, Isak, if he's playing, would be a shout, or McAllister.
Yeah, I think McAllister tends to be the guy that likes to step up, so he'd be a good call. Maybe Szoboszlai as well. He's a good obviously set piece taker. So yeah, certainly, yeah. I think that's the difficulty, is kind of knowing where Liverpool are going to go with their team selection.
Interesting.
Right now, it's definitely an interesting thing to follow.
Yeah.
And then on to, I guess, our suggested alternate for Mbeumo.
Yep.
So again, I quite like this pick. He seems to be in favour with Amorim. He's getting quite a lot of minutes already, so I'd be quietly confident that means he's almost nailed when Mbeumo goes to AFCON. So again, I like that pick. The fixtures again nice: Wolves, Leeds, Burnley as well.
Yep.
A couple of tough fixtures, 16 to 18, realistically. Bournemouth at home, Villa away, and Newcastle at home. And obviously they've got City in 22. So yeah, I definitely think he's probably more of a budget variant. But yeah, again, worthwhile consideration for sure.
So United lose in Mbeumo, Diallo, as you mentioned earlier, and Mazraoui as well, which is basically, if they all start, that's their whole right side gone. So you're looking at the likes of Diego Darlo to come in to replace Mazraoui or Diallo, because he's been playing wing back. I think Mount is the most likely to fill that right sided role. With probably Cunha still on the left with Sesko if he's fit. It might also mean that Bruno finally moves forward and plays one of those 10 roles instead of Mount. And he fills the gap with Ugarte and Casemiro in the holding roles. United losing two big players have been a big part of their turnaround in form in Diallo and in Mbeumo. Big losses for them, I think. And an interesting dilemma for Amorim to resolve, I think, for that period of time.
Yeah, it certainly isn't an easy one, because as you said, they have kind of been the two players that have stood out in the resurgence of form.
Yeah.
And Diallo fits that right wing back system that Amorim is playing. Dallo certainly isn't as attacking, so kind of maybe imbalances them a little slightly to what they've been used to. Again, puts more pressure on the likes of Cunha to perform, because let's be honest, he hasn't performed consistently so far this season.
Well, from an FPL point of view, he's not. But when I watch United, he's still playing very well. I mean, he does what he does best. He carries the ball. He's drawing defenders to him. He's allowing space for others. But for an FPL asset, he's not really done anything to justify that huge £8 million price tag that he has. Just on Mount really quick. He's 5.9 million and only 0.3% owned, so it would be a huge differential. And Darlow is only 4.4 mil and 1% owned. So either one of them, if they come in as a regular starter, are great assets to fill those roles.
Yeah, agreed. I like it. All right, on to Palace and Eddie Nketiah. It's suggested that he'll obviously get more minutes with Sarr going to AFCON, and obviously you're not blessed with options, to be honest, Scott, right? So that's probably why we've named Nketiah here.
Well, the main, and it frustrates me a little bit, because the chap we bought to sort of give Sarr a run to give him a rest, basically, for all the minutes he's playing, is Uche, who's obviously Nigerian and will be in AFCON as well. So it's a little bit short-sighted that they're both going to be missing for that length of time. And I fancy Senegal to go the whole way. I mean, if I was going to put a name out there to who I think is going to win the tournament, I think Senegal are the strongest team. So I can see Sarr being away for the maximum length of time. Nketiah is most likely to fill his spot. He is injured currently, but should be back for game week 16. Massively weakens Palace in that the attacking sense. Glasgow won't change his system, so it'll be the same, like for like. He'll play the same role, but just not play it as well. Although I've been bemoaning Sarr's lack of shooting boots, at least Nketiah knows where their net is. He just hasn't got the pace or the footballing awareness that Sarr has. He's a very frustrating individual, Nketiah, as you know from his time at Arsenal. Seems to show his talent in flashes, but isn't consistent. So I mean, by those run of fixtures, I mean, you probably might not want a Palace attacker for City and Spurs and Newcastle. So maybe it's an irrelevant conversation, but I think if you've got other assets like Mateta, he'd be the consideration, because we are weaker in attack. So he might also have to leave your team.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I have considered in preparation for AFCON, because I do look at him leaving, making you quite considerably weaker up front.
Yep.
And he supports Mateta significantly in output.
Yep.
So without him supplying the balls, again, it just puts quite a lot of pressure on other assets to perform.
Certainly does.
And therefore maybe takes away from the likes of Mateta being a decent pick from those tougher fixtures going from AFCON onwards.
Yeah, so that sort of drives into my theory, my sort of strategy, that I want to remove African players beforehand, and the players I think will be negatively impacted, like Mateta, remove them before AFCON and use those 5 transfers, wisely, and looking for game week 20 and beyond. Really, is what my plan is.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good strategy. I think I will probably have a mixture of both. I reckon for me, but we'll see. And then the last like-for-like pick is obviously Njai. We'll be going to AFCON, so we've called out Alcaraz, who again I very much like from the eye test specifically. He is a really tidy footballer, and he's already started to get output in that Everton lineup.
I think he's unlucky not to have a regular starting berth for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Very unlucky. I mean, this pick could have been a number of picks. I mean, Alcaraz I think will be the choice, but you could have gone O'Neill as well. Oh, sorry, McNeil or Diblin. Might see a bit of increased minutes for Njai. But I think Alcaraz, like you say, he's a great footballer, very, very industrious, very aggressive, I guess, in his play. A typical Moyes pickup. Which is why it surprised me that he doesn't get more regular minutes. But yeah, I mean, he's an interesting one. He comes in at 5.2 mil and 0 owned. So if he is the like replacement, what a pickup he'll be. But those fixtures aren't particularly nice, are they?
Obviously, start with Chelsea and Arsenal, no. But obviously they've got Burnley away, which is pretty good. Forest's form's indifferent. Wolves at home. Depends on how their new manager settles in, but again, could be a nice fixture on paper. And again, I think a lot of these more budget options, you're probably looking at your 5th midfielder choice at that point. So I'd like to think if you've planned your team out, you can afford to bench these type of selections for some of the more tougher fixtures.
Or use these guys as the punt during AFCON. Like I think you were more thinking that they're going to be the punt for 4 or 5 game weeks, that you can play more weeks on and see if you can get something out of a massive differential.
For sure. Yeah, agreed. All right. Let's move on to some of, I guess, the alternate picks. Again, this is more based on the fixtures from game week 16 and the teams that have nicer fixtures on paper. So the first one is the guy we waxed fairly lyrical about last week is Ryan Cherky. He seems to have nailed a starting spot at the moment. Obviously, his main competition in that current role is probably Marmouche, who is riding the bench at the moment. So I think he looks like he's got that spot nailed for the foreseeable. But yeah, as always, you just never know with Pet Roulette. That's the frustration.
Well, he's been starting, but I think he was pulled on the 52nd minute against Liverpool. So although you got you're sweating on the team sheet coming out and you see his name in there, so you're like, come on, I called it right. He's only lasting 52 minutes, which is no good to anybody. You may as well come off the bench and play the last 30. Frustrating. But if he can last 70, 75 minutes in these games, I mean, we spoke about him last week. He's a super talent. He's the only City player I can see really linking with Haaland for goals. I know we spoke about Doku, but he's more of an assist guy. I think Pep's looking for someone to share the goals with. I think, and Cherky is really the only one for me that can step up and do that.
Yeah, the only other one is probably Foden. from an attacking sense. Again, started the last 6 games.
Yeah.
Only 1 assist in those 6 games.
Terrible.
So, again, not pulling up any trees as of yet. Obviously, he's found some form in the Champions League and the Cups. So again, it's probably a watch and wait and see kind of moment. But I guess we may as well talk about the other asset we spoke about in the roundup was O'Reilly. I'm a big fan of him, and if I remember from our discussion, you quite like him too, right?
I do. I mean, Aït-Nouri was brought in the summer to play left back. Got injured. O'Reilly sort of come through their academy and has looked a very accomplished player. Very elegant. Pep seems to trust him, getting forward and playing that inverted role, which is unusual for such a young lad to be trusted to play that way. And he's getting some hugely advanced positions, and looks a threat. And like you said about his output, consistent output. My only concern with him was that Aït-Nouri, I think, is fit now. So between now and when AFCON starts, you might see a bit of rotation with Aït-Nouri, with an O'Reilly. But once AFCON starts, I think he has that left back spot completely nailed. So from my point of view, I think it would be to maybe wait and see what happens. But once AFCON starts, for sure, I mean, he's got to be high up on the shopping list from game week 16 onwards.
Yeah, he's £5 million. He's got 51 points so far.
Yeah,
this season. Again, worth noting, he's a natural midfielder that's been converted into a left back.
Yeah,
a bit like my man Mars Lewis Skelly. So, and you can see stylistically, he's certainly good on the ball. Got a good pass on him, and that's looking at his output. So yeah, I'm certainly looking at him as an asset for defence.
I'm also looking at the.
Sure.
I'm looking at the lad on the right side as well. I think Mateus Nunes is worth monitoring as well. Yeah.
Wing back.
Yeah, his output is great. I mean, he's to me, he's too good to be playing in that role because he's a very, very accomplished ball player. His time at Wolves, he was playing central midfield and looking like a Ryan Jerky. I mean, he's that sort of talent. Playing as a right fullback. So again, it's like the same conversation every single week with City, isn't it? You take the players, you know the risks with the roulette. It's a real thing, you know. It's not just a myth. It happens every single week. And if you're the sort of manager that doesn't want to sweat too much about the team sheet, then don't go for these players. But if you like a bit of risk and reward and a bit of fun, then these lads are, you know, the guys you should be looking at for that. I use fun in a loose term. A 1 point cameo is not fun, is it? You know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's probably why O'Reilly makes sense to me, because his main competition will be going to AFCON. So it almost feels like it should be fairly nailed.
Can you not see a world where
he puts Guardiola at left back?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, there's a world Ake can play left back too. I mean, he's not guaranteed. You can never say he's guaranteed. It's like you know, you should be shot if you say that word with any City players.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the next pick. I've called out there a guy who, the more and more I watch this guy over the last few seasons, the more impressed I've been with him. Is Sharda.
Yeah.
So again, £7 million, has the starting berth locked. Again, those fixtures are really nice.
Is he listed as a midfielder?
He is, yes. Yeah, he is. Okay. That's another reason why I've kind of picked some of these players, because a lot of the main AFCON assets are midfielders. So, and he will probably fall under the likes of Mbeumo's budget. if you have him, for example. So I think that's why I've kind of suggested him.
I just think last season he was classified as a forward last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 goals and 2 assists. He's got 3 returns in 4 games.
Yep.
And again, yeah, if Brentford's form continues, they've got some tougher fixtures. Brighton next, then Burnley, then Arsenal, then Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously then you come into that Leeds fixture. I just think he's a really nice option for anyone who's got that Mbeumo money, can downgrade, and then they've got a little bit of change to invest elsewhere.
I mean, he's a player that we know pretty well from following the Bundesliga. So we know about his talent, and he's sort of shown it in fits and starts in the last couple of seasons. Now he's got that regular starting berth. My issue with him was that price tag. The 7 million price tag meant that he was a non-starter for me because there was so much value elsewhere cheaper, like 6.5, 6 mil, 5.5. The 7 mil seemed to be overpriced hugely for me in a Brentford team I thought we're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
And I guess his price hasn't changed because no one owns him, so no one's been selling him or buying him.
No.
Yeah, a good shout. A good shout. Yeah, if you are downgrading in Mbeumo and you will have that money to spend, I guess the 7 mil becomes more desirable. But there's loads of options around that price. Again, if you want to go for a 6-week AFCON punt, I wouldn't put you off, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. And then on to next selection. I've picked Voltemade from Newcastle.
Darren's boy.
Yeah, this is probably twofold. Obviously, Visser, if he's fit by then,
if he ever returns, that is,
will likely be going to AFCON. So Voltemade will continue to have that striking berth sewn up.
What happens? Just sorry. What happens if Visser isn't fit to go, but then is fit to start for Newcastle once the tournament starts?
Then I assume he'll stay.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd be down to their nation to take the risk, right? To take him and ride out his fitness.
But that's a possibility
because they think they can get.
It seems like a possibility because there's no sort of talk that he's anywhere close to starting yet.
No, agreed. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. It seems like it'll be an injury that's taking forever to come back from.
Yeah.
The main reason I picked him again is I was looking at options for Mateta.
Yep.
And also, again, I was looking at midfield options because, again, like I said, a lot of the AFCON highly owned players are midfielders. But I couldn't nail one or the other down that I wanted to suggest. And obviously their fixtures on paper look great. Obviously you've got the likes of Livramento. That could be a good option for the West Ham departing wing backs. If you've got any of them in your team.
I think Lewis Hall's pretty close to return, so he might be another option on that for the same reason.
So, but yeah, again, for the midfielders, obviously I could have put Darren's Bruno G up there.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to glaze Darren too much. And I wasn't convinced on Harvey Barnes or Gordon. So again, I don't know what your thoughts are. Could they be options? Would you suggest they could be options based on those fixture swings and replacing some of the AFCON players?
Yeah, I find Newcastle a strange team in a minute. I haven't considered hardly any of their assets all season. They've sort of been a bit in and out form wise. And Darren was really sweet on Voltemade when they signed him, but yet didn't bring him in. Brought in the rest of the Newcastle squad, but left him out in the cold, and he's the only one who's been returning, which is like typical Darren sort of philosophy, but it's interesting nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, Alanga's got to get a run in that team at some point. He's too good to. They spent too much money as well for him not to get a run in the team. But but there's two. I think there's too many question marks about the players you listed. The rotation is huge. Jacob Murphy's in and out. There's no one seemingly nailing that down those places, and I would want to see Visser on that plane heading to AFCON before I would commit to Voltemada, just in case he isn't fit to go and he stays and starts getting minutes off him. That's all.
Agreed. And then the last pick may seem, I guess, slightly left field, but a guy that in previous years would be classed as a defender is now a midfielder, playing more of an attacking role this season in that Fulham side is Sessegnon. So again, some great fixtures there on paper. He's in fairly good output form. He got a goal and assist against Wolves, I suppose that might be a bit of an anomaly as how bad Wolves have been. So maybe I'm counting it out. But again, just as an entry level option, as maybe that fifth midfielder, if that's what you're looking for. For example, I only have one African midfielder, so I'll be looking at one change probably. So yeah, again, an option.
Well, just to highlight as well that Iwobi leaves for AFCON, so that leaves a starting player for Fulham short. Bassi at the back is also going, and Chukwueze is also off. So Sessegnon becomes probably a more nailed starter because of the likes of Iwobi leaving, and because they're not blessed with depth in that squad. So yeah, a good sort of left field, but with a educated left field pick, I guess.
I do try. So yeah, cool. I think. Is there any more that you'd like to highlight that we probably haven't put on the slide here?
Well, the only thing I'd like to probably add to that is Sunderland. Just as an overall view, that they've started the season so well, but obviously they knew who they were buying in the summer and the impact that's going to have on them, losing up to 9 players. I mean, they're losing some big players too. Siddiqui, who you spoke very highly of the other day, the impact he's had, him and Xhaka in that midfield, bossing it. Taubi as well came on to great impact against Arsenal. He's off. Diarra, who they spent big money on, who's been injured for a while. He's a huge player for them. So just really a question: how do you see Sunderland coping with losing so many players in one go?
I think it will be tough. Like you said, it is a mixed bag of starters, a mixed bag of subs, etc. that will be going to AFCON, but they are losing players that take away from being able to roll the dice.
Mm-hmm.
If you like, when games aren't going your way, they won't have Taubi to bring on to change the game. Yeah. For example,
Adingra as well is another one who's going.
Another one who hasn't really had maybe the starting minutes we expected, but again, he's a good option to bring on when you need to, tie games down, stretch games. So yeah, I do have my concerns that it might imbalance them because they've been so solid.
Mm-hmm.
They have such a solid core, and again, it's going to be a real test of their manager, really, to kind of rotate in that way.
Yep.
And yeah, I think losing the likes of Siddiqui is going to be a big loss, and again puts more pressure on the likes of Xhaka, and that's not counting any potential injuries that they could get in that time. So yeah, it was we did call it out at the beginning of the seasons, and it does feel like a bit of a wild one to pick 9 players to bring in 9 players that are going to.
I guess they were putting money on the fact that they needed a good start because they had, I think, if I remember rightly, the 10 best opening fixtures of the season on paper. They were top of the fixture ticker. knowing full well that in game week 16 they're going to be losing the hardcore of their squad. I guess points on the board makes them a little bit more relaxed for now. So I guess their calculations have paid off. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how all those losses impact them, and how they impact on other assets like your defensive assets, your Mukuleles and Aldereti's, and that they suddenly start shipping goals because they haven't got the protection in front of them. And interesting. One last question is, who do you fancy for AFCON?
Good question. I think Morocco were favourites. I think from the betting odds that I saw, I like probably Senegal as an outfield chance. I think the usual suspects will be up there. The Moroccos, the Egypts, obviously with their attacking threat of Marmoush and Salah, and again they're always very strong defensively, which I think that's probably where AFCON seems to be won and lost, is the teams that've got the better defenders. The defenses usually win it because some of the smaller African nations aren't particularly blessed with high profile defensive players. But it'd be interesting to see how Cameroon do, because again they don't really have on paper the strongest of squads, but they have a big player in Brian Mbeumo, so it will be interesting. Obviously we'll be watching it from a Premier League assets perspective.
I mean, I love AFCON. I love seeing the future stars that come out of the tournament, because like I said, they produced some awesome athletes, didn't they, in that part of the world, and we're blessed in the Premier League to have some of the best they have to offer. The Uche that I pointed out plays for Nigeria. He'll be my player that I'm going to be watching personally to see how he is, because I think he's a star of the future. Not been given much of a run out so far for Palace, but I think in the AFCON setup, I think Nigeria are pretty powerful, and he should be one of their sort of shining lights if they go far.
Cool. Okay, I'll keep an eye out. All right. Well, should we wrap it up there? Thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the video, and leave your comments down below. Hopefully that will help you in your AFCON decisions that are coming up. We will be back next week to talk everything game week 12 and preparing our teams for success going forward. So we'll be back next week.
Bench boost success.
Bench boost success. I look forward to it. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Bye.